Okay, so we're going to talk about the new mailing list system. It's called Mailman 3. It's a upgrade from Mailman 2. It's a little bit different than what you may be used to, and what we will do in this video is to go over some of the features of the new system and how to get started. So the first thing is to actually go to the Mailman website. To do that, let's open up a browser. The website URL is new list with an S .coe.neu.edu or northeastern.edu. If you just hit return, then you get this screen. This screen is, frankly, the first time you see the screen, you should see the one or maybe even no list available. And that's because you haven't logged on. Unlike Mailman 2, each individual person who is a owner or administrator of a list or a moderator will have an account, and they will use that account to log in. So I'll go ahead and sign up by clicking on the sign up button. And let's go ahead and type in your northeastern.edu address, email address. Put that both in email and also in your username. And then type in the password. This password is, you can make it whatever you want. It might be easier for you to use your NewNet password for this. Now let's click sign up. It shows up in your
inbox.
Yes, it should show up in the inbox of your Outlook account.
This is the wrong email, sorry. It should be this right here.
There it is. Okay. So what we've done so far is we went to the main website, newlist.coe.neu.edu. And since we don't have an account, we clicked on sign up. We typed in your northeastern.edu email address for the email address and what you want for your username. And we typed in a password. What it should do is it should send an email to your Northeastern account. And right here, you can see that there's a link that you need to click on to be able to get to the to verify the account. So after getting the verification, it should allow you to log in. So let's give that a try. Okay, there we go. So let's see. I don't think that we need to do anything on this page. You can change your password if you want, or change the email address that you want to send the mail to. But I think everything should be okay here. So let's click on account. And you can choose, if you wish, to put in your first and last name. The time zone I've set to be America, New York. It may not be that way when you set up your account the first time, so you can use that pull-down menu to change the time zone. So now I think what we want to do is to go back to the list part, and we could do that by just going to the, yes, where it says manage lists. That still doesn't seem to be a list associated with you. So what I'm going to do is I will take a test list and add that email to it. So bear with me a moment. Now what should happen is that when your department's requested email mailing list with discussions with Mariah Nobrega, we ended up creating a Mailman list for you, and we assigned the original requested email address as the administrator. So we're going to set up a administrator for this account. This would be .t at northeastern.edu. Okay, and display name would be Kevin. Okay, add owner. All right, so I've added a owner to a mailing list called Test One. So why don't you do a reload and click on the button that says owner. Okay, so that you should get a list of all of the mailing lists that your department has that you are an owner of. And now at this point, I should talk to you about something that you may already know, and that has to do with the difference between an owner and a moderator. Sometimes owner is referred to as administrator. So the owner is the person that can make any changes that they want on the mailman list. I recommend that you limit what type of changes you want to make, but you have complete control over what goes on with the mailman list. The moderator purpose is only to decide whether or not a particular mail message should be released or rejected. That's the only purpose left for the moderator. So let's click on moderator. Actually, let's not do that. Instead, what we'll do is we will click on the list name itself, Test One. So this, right below Test One, you see a bunch of headings. The ones that you are mostly concerned with will be where it says held messages and where it says users. There's also mass operations. So let's go under users and pull down. So you see that there are members, non-members, meaning somebody sending mail to the list, moderators, and owners. So if we click on the owners, we see that I happen to be an owner, and also you're an owner as well. Now, let's go under users again and take a look to see who are members of the list. As you can see, we've been sending mail both to the COE mailing system and also to northeastern.edu. We've been able to successfully send mail also to gmail.com. Now, you'll notice down at the bottom that there is a T.Leonidas, but it's not Leonidas.t. Leonidas.t is the owner. T.Leonidas is a member of the list. So if someone sends mail, if you, for example, as the owner of this list, sends mail from your Leonidas.t account, it will get held for moderation because the owner of a list is not a member of the list. That's just something to remember. The owner of the list is not a member of the list. If you want to make sure that certain messages go out, the easiest thing to do is just to make yourself a member. You can see how to add yourself as a member by going to where it says mass operations. Yes, right there. So let's click on mass subscribe. This actually sounds a little bit like what we may be used to with Mailman 2. The big difference is that you are not able to upload a file. You will have to do cut and paste. If it's a very large number of people, the best thing to do is to send mail to help@coe.edu.edu, and we will be able to load the list up for you. There is a spreadsheet that was set up through Owner and Moderator for each of the departments, and whoever was placed in that spreadsheet, we have added to the list the way it is right now. So you may wish to go and check to see whether the people who are in the list are who you're expecting. So why don't you go ahead and type in your Leonardo's.t account. Right. Okay. So now when the important thing here is to click on the pre-verified button because most of the time when you are using a mailman list, this is sort of a information broadcast type setup. So you actually don't want to send out a bunch of email messages asking for people to verify they want to be on the list. The membership of the list is required. So we don't ask them whether they want to be on the list. We just make sure that they're on the list and that they're verified and that they don't get messages saying that they have to do something. So all three buttons should be checked. It's confirmed, it's approved, it's verified. Down at the bottom, it says send welcome message. I strongly suggest clicking the no button. I believe the list default is to be no, but click that no button anyway, just to be sure. Then click subscribe users. And let's go into users. Let's look at members. And now both versions of T. Leonardus is in the list. Now, I'm going to send a mail message to the list. And then we will send a mail message from the screen as well. So I want to see what happens if I send mail from a user that is not a member of the list. All right, and now why don't you send a mail message from your T. Leonardus account? Yes, try it again. Yeah, that'll work. Now we should actually get a message. So this first one is the test mail message. Okay, so test one at coe.northeastern.edu went through because the Leonardus.t account is a member of the list. Now let's click on the next one. This is something that you'll be getting as either a moderator or a owner of the list. What'll happen is it will say someone's trying to send mail to the list, and it will say why it won't send it through. Maybe they sent a gigantic attachment. Maybe the person's not a member of the list. In this case, what is it saying? Your authorization is required. And you can see the reason. The reason is it was sent from an account that's not a list member. Right below subject, you can see what's going on. So looks like we just have to click on the link, and that should take us to where we want to go. And there's the list. Now let's click on the other tab. you can see that the held message selection has a 1 in it. You can click on that, and actually that will take you to the same page as the second tab. Let's take a look at the second tab. Yeah, you see it will give you the message. Well, how do we know what the message is? If we click on the link right under subject, you could say show source, and you can actually see the full source and what the person's trying to send. And you can go ahead and decide to approve it or not. Okay, so you can click, you can either give it a reason, but generally what I suggest is either just accept it or discard it. Discard it meaning just throw it away. Don't use reject unless you really want to send a message to the person. For example, if someone sent spam to the list, somehow they got that list name and they sent spam to it, you don't want to try and reject it, because that sends a mail message to something that probably doesn't exist. Usually they send a mail message with a reply to that goes to a non-existent box, and that just causes a lot of trouble. You'll get a whole bunch of messages saying that this account doesn't exist and things like that. So don't reject a message, either discard it or accept it, unless you know that that is actually a Northeastern account and you want to tell the person to do something. An example is that sometimes people send mail saying, I want to find out about my admissions, but the mailman list is not about admissions, it's about something else. So you could choose to say reject and specify that they should send mail to this address, something like that. But generally I would say accept or discard. We'll go ahead and accept it. Now the 1 turns into a 0. And now let's go back to mail, the first tab. And we should see, there it is. Now the reason why the J. Jones 1 is not a member of the list, that's why it got held. Pretty straightforward. So far we have that how to create an account. When you first start out, to create an account, you have to do the sign up. It will send a verification to your email address. If something goes wrong with that, you can send mail to help, and we can help you out with that. You can examine the list. We just did that. If we go to the second tab, yes. Now that is examining the list, so you can see the operations that we can do. The normal. Let's do a refresh, because actually we don't have any held messages anymore. And now you see it's turned to 0. So you have info. Generally, you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about subscriptions. People aren't going to subscribe to your mailing list. They're going to be placed into the mailing list either automatically or by you. No one else will be able to automatically sign up to that list. You can see what you have to do to get, as far as held messages are concerned. You can find out who are the users by the users pull-down menu. Templates you don't have to worry about for now. Usually, if you click on that, there may be something in there involving the footer. In this case, there isn't. But you may see something in there involving the footer. Generally, the mailing lists have been set up so that there aren't any footers. By footers, I mean sort of a signature type thing at the bottom of the message. That's to avoid certain problems that we've been observing. So don't worry about that. Now, the important thing are these last 2 lists. Let's click on settings. So I have put a description, a short description and a long description, and there's also display name and subject prefix. make sure that the subject prefix is empty. And as far as description is concerned, you can choose anything you want. I put something in there temporarily, but you could change it to what you actually want it to be. Now let's remove the subject prefix, and let's go down to the bottom. There's a button that says Save Changes. Of course, if you don't do Save Changes, it actually won't be changed. The only other thing that you have to worry about is member policy. So let's take a look at member policy. That's on the left, second from the bottom. Now, what you should see is the subscription policy of Moderate. Generally, people will not be able to automatically sign up to your list. There's also an unsubscription policy. Now, let's do a pull down menu on the unsubscription policy. So that should always be open. So we will select that. When you take a look at it, you'll see that it's open. It should be set that way. But if it's not that way, you should set it that way. Let's click Save Changes. So those are the only two things that you really have to worry about when it comes to making changes. Let's go to mass operations. And I think we looked at this already. If you click on mass subscribe, you can put inside the box as many as you want email addresses. You can see how the format should be right below the box. You don't have to put anything but the email address, but if you want a name, you can do that. And just make sure that you have pre-verified check and also no for send welcome messages. Right. And it will subscribe. Don't worry about that. So now, how about the other one? Let's pull down mass operations, mass removal. All right, that red box is dangerous. But if you want to get rid of everybody in the list and just start from scratch, you no longer have to talk to help at COE to request that. You can do that yourself. Or you can specify particular users that you want to remove. So we could put, for example, Leonardo's.t. And this has, of course, be the full email address. Now we'll click Remove Listed Users. And it should be unsubscribed. The reason why we have unsubscription be open is so that it goes through automatically as opposed to the removal having to be approved. You cannot, the way we've set up the mailing list, send a mail message to an address and automatically get removed. There's no way to do that. So now if we go under users and look at members, the faculty version of Tevin Leonidas is there. The other one is gone. It's not gone from the owner. It's just gone from list members. So the way that the mailing lists have been set up, we've added owners. If you want to add a moderator, you go to users and put the pull down menu. Let's select the moderators. Right now, there's nobody in there. You can just put in the email address and display name and just add moderator. And let's go to message acceptance. This is where you would put people that you always want to go through whether they're a member of the list or not. So let's scroll down. Okay, the box right there that says accept these non-members, that's where you would put, let's say, for example, the department chair wants, or somebody from the provost office, or some other person that you choose to do this for. Let's say that you always want those people to be able to send mail directly to the list without approval. It all depends on how you want to run it. A lot of people are okay with this. Other people always want to approve messages, even if they've sent it. They want to have that one last check. But if you want the person to be able to go through right away without approval, you would put it in accept these non-members. The way the lists are set up, members of the list are by default have their messages held. If we scroll up towards the top of the screen, we will see that. Okay, it should say, I'm sorry, let's scroll down a little bit. Okay, default action to take when a member posts to the list. It should say hold for moderation, because most of these mailing lists are actually broadcast lists. They're actually not a mailing list where people are chatting with each other. So it should always say hold for moderation. Default action to take when a non-member posts to the list, that should be hold for moderation. And let's say that somebody somehow gets hold of the list and starts bombarding it with mail messages. Well, the hold will at least keep those messages from going out to the list. But there is a button that you can choose, emergency moderation. Then nothing goes out automatically. You'll be able to stop everything until you can figure out what's going on. By default, the message size is, well, this says 40, but the mailing list that we've set up, I believe the default is 30 megabytes. It would look like 30,000. Okay, so it should be 30 megabytes. And the rest of this should not, the rest of this, you should not need to make any changes. Okay, and you can just go ahead and click Save Changes. So that should be it. Now, if you're an owner of the list, please do not press that button at the far end that says delete. That does not delete users. That deletes the mailing list. If you do that, then we would have to set it up again. So don't do that. Instead, use mass operations if you want to remove people from the list. That's the way to do it. So that should be it. And if you have any questions, please let me know. The user section to add the owner or the moderator, mass operations to add or remove people, held messages to find out what messages are being held. You'll get to this page. If you click on the link, that will be in the mail message telling you about the message that's being held. You just click on the link, it'll take you to this page. And let's click on the info button just to see what it looks like, but that should be pretty much about it. That, I believe, really only has to do with a particular user. So we don't have to worry about info. You can see that it's referring to Leonidas.t, and that's the account that we logged on to. So you don't have to worry about info. I think you just worry about help messages, users, settings, and mass operations. Those are the only things that you just have to worry about. So you'll only see the mailing list that you belong to, you're a member of, or moderator or owner of. If you want to find out about other mailing lists, you need to go to the SharePoint site, which will have a list and a diagram of all the mailing lists that are available for people to in the College of Engineering. We haven't talked about the student mailing list. That's going to be updated in the near future as well. We hope to start the switchover. Right now, we should be able to start next week. And I will talk to each department to let them know that the switchover has been made, and if they can, if there are further questions, we can go ahead and talk about it then. So if you have any questions, let us know. I hope this gives you a good start on how to manage your mailman list. And I hope you all have a nice day.